You ever have that flask that's just been like sitting in your cupboard for like way too long, and you've had a couple of bottles since you filled it last and you don't know what's in it? That's the beer of the week. Alright, we're just gonna jump into today's top 5. It's the top 5 games that have most made me say meh. These are games that are like, not bad, but they're not really good per se. So we're just gonna jump in like I already said, and since I had to repeat myself, you have to drink. Anyway, the 5th most meh game in the world is Alone in the Dark, which was a game for Xbox 360, which was kind of an interesting idea where a lot of the combat was based around being in the dark, and you know, HD was just becoming a thing at the time, so I can see why they wanted to have like a big contrast between light and dark settings, but like it wasn't that dark most of the time. And also, you weren't alone. So the title literally was only a quarter right half the time. And that's just kind of bad monikering. Is monikering a word? If you looked it up, you have to drink. I'm going to look it up, so I'll drink right now. The gameplay was fun, but it was more annoying than challenging. Kind of, you know, working your way through the dark. I feel like there was a lot of games in that generation, or, you know, even a few years before or after that generation, that kind of did it better. Like Doom 3 did darkness really well, and this game did it kind of okay. So that's what I have to say about that, and that's why this game receives a meh out of 10. Number 4 on my list of the world's okayest games is Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon. This was a remake of the original, and I thought, oh, well, that sounds cool, because I'm a big fan of the series, and I thought a remake sounded like a great idea, because a lot of us here in the US did not get a chance to play the original, except for in badly translated, emulated versions. Not that I would know anything about that. This game was kind of weird, because they improved the visuals, they updated it for the Nintendo DS, and it was a pretty decent looking game at the time. But they didn't do anything with the gameplay. It was literally just copied and pasted from the Super Nintendo version. And I feel like that wouldn't necessarily be a bad way to go. You know, it was good gameplay at the time on Super Nintendo, but at the time it released in 2009, it was so far removed from the original release in 1990 that it, like everything they added to the Fire Emblem series in those 19 years was worth adding, and it would have been worth adding at least some of those new features to this game, yeah, in my opinion. Also, it just, you know, following up some of the best games in the Fire Emblem series just really made this game feel like less. Number 3, game that was just not altogether horrifying, is Kirby's Epic Yarn. Now, this was a lot of fun as a platformer. I really did enjoy the gameplay. I think that the weird spin that they took on this opened up a lot of interesting doors. Because, you know, you didn't have your same Kirby combat where you eat your enemies and you get their powers 100 times over by the end of the game. You know, you had to figure out how to use your powers other than that, with your little whip attack and different things like that. And it was a really clever implementation of the 2-button control scheme of the sideways Wii remote. But there's a really big but. In this game, literally nothing can kill you. You could, like, just go through the whole game and just jump in pits and run into enemies until you're at the end of the level, and you would beat the game. And like, Kirby games are not hard traditionally. I've never had a Kirby game that I thought was hard. There are, some games that take a long time and creative thinking and mapping to figure out how to full complete in some of their gathering quests and whatever. But Kirby games are not difficult to beat. But this was beyond simple. This was beyond easy. This was so disappointing because of how you could not fail the game. Like, not being able to fail kind of makes you wonder why you're even trying to succeed. Number 2. World's game is Kingdom Hearts. I might receive a lot of flack for that, but I really just didn't like it that much. And I know it's like one of everybody's top 5 favorite games. Oh my god, it's so amazing. But I really think that you all just have a gigantic boner for Disney or Square Enix or something like that. Because it's not really all that good. Like, I played it way after the fact, and I think that might have something to do with it, but it was incredibly infuriating to me that every single thing you did in the entire game was a fetch quest. You just kept running around, being everybody's servant. The controls were really awkward and clunky, and personally, I wasn't all that into the story. I'm not that big into the mixed universe of Final Fantasy and Disney. That's not my thing. Sorry. Not sorry. You have to drink. The number 1 game in the world that is worthy of the most meh is Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. Didn't see that coming, did you? Now, this is actually kind of a flip-flop from the reasons I chose the other 4 games, because a lot of people like some of the other games on that list, and nobody I know really likes this game, and I didn't think it was all that bad. Like, it was nothing like any Final Fantasy game that you ever played before or again, but what was wrong with that? It was its own thing. It was a totally different style of game, and I feel like if it hadn't been expected to be Final Fantasy because it had the Final Fantasy name on it, it would have been better received. I thought the gameplay was actually very interesting for a Super Nintendo game. It had a lot of switching items and environmental challenges, and I think that kind of gameplay can go a long way in, some series or another. I thought it was fine, it was a clever way to introduce a lot of items that nobody ever cared to know existed or never existed again as far as the series was concerned. But there were a lot of funny little weird things that I feel like you could have seen in a Zelda game and everybody would have been like, oh my gosh, this needs to be a staple of the Zelda series. But none of them were because it wasn't a Zelda game, and because it was a Final Fantasy game kind of doing Zelda-ish stuff, it got crucified. I'm not sure what's up with that, but overall this game just left me with an okay feeling after playing it. Like, it was fun. It wasn't a terrible waste of time, I don't think. Not like Kingdom Hearts. That was lousy. And that's my top 5 for this week, everybody. If you didn't like it, be sure to leave a comment and tell me why I'm wrong. And if you did like it, then tell me what I did right so that I can do it again next time. Or that I can do something entirely different next time because it'll be a different list, so who knows whether or not that'll actually be appropriate. Either way, have a happy first video of the new year, and don't forget to drink. Thanks for watching, guys. Be sure to check me out on Facebook and look up my crappy website. And most importantly, would you please share and comment? Because I'd really like this thing to be more of a conversation than just me blabbing about stuff. Alright, thanks guys. Thank you for watching. This has been a $0 Productions production of the show Title Pending. I didn't put it at the end, so I think we have to drink again. Sorry about that.